What is going on? The Catch fam. I hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope everyone won some fantasy games this past week as week 4 has officially, well, I guess there's about 2 minutes left in this game, but is about to officially wrap up. And we are moving into week 5 of the season, ladies and gentlemen. Week 5 of the NFL season, week 5 of the fantasy football season. So, yeah, not a lot in this game that we really need to go over. I mean, if you started DK Metcalf, good. If you started Kenneth Walker, good-ish for both those guys. But I mean, that's it. That's all we really had. Do you ever watch a game and just think, why did I watch that football game? Well, this was one of those football games that we all watched tonight, and we wondered, why did we watch this football game? So Danny Dimes looked pretty horrendous, probably the worst we've seen him in quite some time. And that's really all that happened tonight. So that's all we've got. We've got, I mean, the Geno Smith, injury was a thing as well. It almost looked like we were going to have to watch a game with Drew Lock starting, but nonetheless, we got some points in this game. Kenneth Walker did almost stumble into the end zone a second time, but other than that, not a whole lot of excitement tonight. No big plays to like Tyler Lockett. Noah Fant had like the biggest play this whole game, which was a pass from Drew Lock. But anyways, there's my recap on the game. I mean, Saquon was out. Maybe if Saquon was out there and was healthy, this game is a little bit different. But yeah, this game was just absolutely atrocious from start to end. But it's 4th and 3 for the Seahawks right now. There's a minute and 15 seconds left. So I think it's pretty much safe to say that week 4 of the season is wrapped up and we are moving directly into week 5, ladies and gentlemen. So you know what we are here for tonight. Fantasy Q&A, anything that you guys need, start sits, trades, waiver wire advice, whatever it may be. You guys let me know. And let's get into some week 5 discussion. And yeah, let's not waste any time, guys. Okay, McDouble, what's up, man? How are you? I do apologize in advance, guys. I'm still like a little bit under the weather. My throat's been bothering me, but I'm here nonetheless, as Drew Lock just literally threw the worst pass I've ever seen on 4th and 3. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this game off. But yeah, I do apologize, guys. I'm a little bit under the weather, so just bear with me. And nonetheless, happy to be here with you guys tonight. So let's rock and roll. Jados, what's up, my dude? Hello. Ready to give up on my season already? Hey, I've made the playoffs starting this season 0-4 before. So don't lose all faith if you guys are in a tough, whether you're 1-3 or 4 moment. Sorry, my computer's going crazy. Just don't lose faith. I mean, I totally understand it. But don't lose faith. It's a long season, guys. KR, what's up, man? Good to see you. Tommy, good to see you. What's up? Let's go Seahawks. James Cook or Goddard, full PPR in a tight end premium league. I mean, right now, I want to say James Cook. I mean, Goddard has just not been productive. I mean, a change of offensive coordinator can change a lot of things for an offense as a whole, as a football team, obviously. But, obviously, with our offensive coordinator leaving, going to the Colts as their head coach, I mean, this team looks very different. I mean, same thing on defense for the Eagles as well. So Goddard, it does not look like he is really a focal part of this offense whatsoever after being a huge part of this offense last season. I mean, weeks 2 and 3 weren't too bad. He still had 7 targets in both of those games, but man, I just don't know. When it comes to Goddard, yeah, he's still somebody you want to roster. It hasn't gotten that far yet, but yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'd rather have James Cook. Should I trade Waddle and Devontae for Kupp and Jacobs? I mean, I probably wouldn't, but I mean, it kind of depends, right? Like if you're struggling, then you're buying 2 players who bring some upside as the season starts to progress here, who are kind of like buy low guys, so to speak, where Waddle and Devontae, I mean, Waddle's kind of a buy low too. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot more upside, I think, with Cup and Jacobs because there's more of an unknown factor here. But I'd probably rather have Waddle and Devontae, which I literally own Waddle and Devontae in one of my leagues. But yeah, I think I'd stick with them. Close though. I mean, depends. Like, do you need the additional running back that badly or not? Justin Fields came through. I know. I mean, going into week 3, I told you guys like this might be it for me. If he does not show up against Kansas City, I don't quite know. I mean, I felt like that game script could still benefit him, and obviously it didn't, playing from behind. But anyways, I mean, I told you guys, hey, listen, maybe after the amount of points that the Dolphins put up on the Broncos, we give Fields one last chance at home. And yeah, he did show up from a fantasy perspective. There's no denying that, but real life football, that's a different story. But he's still a top 12 fantasy quarterback at the moment. Could be worse. 28.9 fantasy points, 335 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, a pick, 25 yards on the ground. So, I mean, I think it's interesting because Fields last season, when healthy, only had 2 games where he rushed for less than 28 yards. Okay. They just need to get him going on the ground. I mean, 4 rushing attempts is just not enough. But yeah, this was still an ugly game for the Bears, to say the least. But fantasy wise, hey, we got the Justin Fields thing right, which I still felt risky about all last week, but it paid off. Smokey, what's up, man? Won by 0.4 points yesterday. Let's go. The Zach Wilson fumble. No way. Oh, Kansas City. I was like, someone started Zach Wilson against you. Kansas City defense. Gotcha. Survived Puka and CMC. Whew. Yeah, there are some high scoring players in week 4. What's up, Box and the Jack? Good to see you, man. Caleb, Brees Hall, Shaheed, Cooks, Michael Wilson, start 2. I mean, I'd probably start Shaheed and Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson made the waiver wire video, made probably everyone's waiver wire video out there. But yeah, I mean, I think Shaheed against the Patriots in an away game, maybe you don't feel great there. But at least he brings some upside, right? I mean, I don't really care who the Cardinals are playing. It looks like it doesn't matter. Like they're going to find a way to fight through a game, stay productive throughout a game. I just haven't really been a Brandon Cooks guy this season. I mean, San Francisco's secondary is not like great or anything, but I just don't like him. That could be an interesting game script. Brees Hall at Denver is fine. Maybe if you don't like Shaheed, he's in an away game against the Patriots, but they just lost Christian Gonzalez. They've already lost, Jones, and it's just like I don't really know who's going to cover anyone on this team. But I don't know if I think actually it's similar to Bryce Young and Andy Dalton for the Panthers. Like I like the Panthers from a fantasy perspective more if Andy Dalton's playing. If Derek Carr plays again this week, I just don't know if he's fully healthy. I think I'd rather see Jameis Winston throwing the ball to Shaheed. But yeah, I think your best shot for points here is Shaheed and Michael Wilson. Yeah, I would still keep Waddle and Devontae. Caleb won all 4 of my leagues this week. Let's go. Tommy was up 14 with Kenneth versus Metcalf. Got my first home win. Let's go. I also traded Gibbs for Aaron Jones straight up. Yep, saw that. Now I have Kenneth, Charb, Kyron, Jones, and Warren. Nice. Hey, man. 1 win is getting you on the right path, right? Let's go. Watching this, wondering who I can get for Waller. Nobody. Like, seriously, I don't think you can get anybody. Had plenty of injuries. I traded Tyreek, Pierce, Roshan Johnson for Lamb, Cook, and Jacobs. I mean, if you really, 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 really needed the depth that badly at running back, this is probably a good trade. It just sucks losing Tyreek Hill, but yeah, if you really, 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 really needed the running back depth, CeeDee Lamb is still a perfectly fine wide receiver 1 for your squad, but he's still no Tyreek Hill. But this trade's probably fine from the running back perspective. You definitely won. And of course, the injury is so bad right now. Like I don't really blame you. Don't you dare disrespect the best quarterback than Russell Wilson. Trade Drew Lock. Yeah, I do love Drew Lock. I have like a soft spot for Drew Lock, so I was actually kind of happy to watch him play. That The Noah Fant play, I think it was all Noah Fant. But hey, I was happy to see him out there, not gonna lie. Yeah, I agree with that, J-Dubs. Yeah, Devin Witherspoon looked great tonight. He really did. And I talked about that a lot in the offseason. Like, I really think the Seahawks defense can be special. Getting Witherspoon early in the draft from the Russell Wilson trade, huge when Diggs was already balling out last year. And I think they've gotten off to a slow start defensively, but I still have faith that they can kind of piece it together as the season continues to go on. So we'll see. But Devin Witherspoon looked great tonight. Not just the pick six, but overall looked good. Smokey traded Palmer to get Charbs. Yeah, I mean, if you needed a bench wide receiver who you can flex, then Palmer's helpful here. If you wanted a handcuff running back, then Charbs is helpful here. So, it depends on depth, the entire roster, but probably just fine. Yeah, a bag of chips for Waller sounds pretty good right now. I mean, I really didn't like Waller coming in this year, but I just thought his ADP was too high for his injury history. I mean, he played well against Arizona in week 2, but Arizona historically just bad against opposing tight ends. Still had 7 targets in week 3, only 3 receptions. So 5 points tonight. Did catch every pass thrown his way, 3 targets, 3 receptions, but I just don't know, man. Saquon has to be healthy for this offense to have any juice whatsoever. Matt Breida had an okay game, 12.8 fantasy points in full PPR. So, Seattle not good against a run. We knew that, but like we look at these receivers for the Giants, there's just nothing here. Nothing. I mean, Randall Robinson had the best week of any of them. But yeah, I mean, Slayton, Hodgins, Shepard, and Campbell, I mean, literally combined for like 16 points. I mean, it's just like, who is the guy here? And it's not consistent on a weekly basis. Robinson, didn't play till week 3. Maybe could be a guy, but it's like, I don't want any piece of this offense as a whole, other than Saquon, of course. Goes without saying, but yeah, it's gross. Anyways, yeah, I didn't dislike Waller because I thought he'd be this bad. I disliked Waller because of his potential just injury history. And this team looks like a dumpster fire. Exactly. I think McCaughlin is worth the flyer. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're struggling at running back, if you want to steal, potential starting running back for the next week or two, another team, then McCaughlin is absolutely worth picking up for sure. Made the waiver wire video for sure. Yeah, absolutely worth the flyer. Yeah, I mean, I don't like seeing offenses perform this poorly. I don't. Like, I want fantasy points, and I want, I want excitement in the game. So hopefully they do become functional. Yeah, I think the McCaughlin situation, it's like we always want to try and take advantage of a running back who's going to be starting. But I mean, like there are other guys right now, like Michael Wilson, for example, who I'd rather go and spend a priority waiver on. But there's just so many injuries right now to running back, so many people in a tough spot that McCaughlin is probably up there for a lot of people. Like, even if he's only like in this kind of lead role for 2 weeks, like that's helpful for 2 weeks, it's just tough right now. And hopefully we start to get some of these studs back, like Eckler and Barkley. We'll just kind of have to see what happens. Pacheco, Shane Addison, Drake London, or Gabe Davis. I mean, there are a lot of good names here, but guys, I think at this point, like we are not benching Devon Shane. Like I went into this past week a little bit skeptical, maybe not skeptical, but cautious is a better word. Because tougher matchup against the Bills as opposed to the Broncos the week before in terms of defenses against opposing running backs for Shane going into this game. But also it's like we knew we weren't going to get 51 points out of Devon Shane in week 4. And I just wanted to see like, what does the split look like here at the end of the day? Like maybe we just give it a breather if you have other options that feel more confident in. But at this point, Devon Shane, after, a 27-point performance in week 4, 101 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions. Like, I mean, hey, you guys know if you were here in the offseason, I talked about Devontae Shane a ton. I just loved him as a fit for this offense. I was pounding the table for you guys to draft Devontae Shane, especially in dynasty formats. And I mean, here we are. He gets the Giants in week 5. They're not good against the run, and we just watched the Giants play. I don't want to talk about the Giants anymore. But yeah, the more importantly here, Mostert had 8 touches, 5 targets. Mostert, wait, did I say A-Chain? A-Chain, excuse me. 8 targets, 8 rushing attempts, 5 targets. Mostert, 7 rushing attempts, 7 and 5 receptions, 5 targets. Wow, I butchered that. By the way, guys, I'm still sick. I'm trying my best. But the point being was that the split was almost exactly the same for Mostert and Devontae Shane. So, like that, being skeptical around it, being cautious, wasn't too far off. But the big difference here is that Devontae Shane's getting the red zone touches, and this offense is so efficient that we want to start the running back who's going to get the red zone touches for the Dolphins. Could that change maybe in week 5? I don't know. I mean, this is one of those offenses that could change up things on a regular basis, but for now, we just can't risk it. I mean, Devontae Shane is the RB3 in fantasy right now. He didn't even play week 1. He had 1.9 points in week 2, and he's the RB3. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. All right. So I drop JSN. And redraft, you probably can at this point. Dynasty, no. But yeah, redraft, you probably can. Need a replacement for Fryermuth. Would you pick up Ferguson, Kincaid, Ottner, Schultz? I'd pick up Ferguson right now. He's getting great volume, good targets. Prescott loves them, tight ends. Kincaid's not consistent. Otten, not really consistent. Schultz is probably my next favorite option. But yeah, I go Ferguson for sure. Yeah, I told you guys going into this past week that CJ Stroud was not going to be available much longer. And after this performance, yeah, you got to go get Stroud while you can. Half PPR, trade Waller, Madison for Hawkinson. Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. Absolutely, Nathan, for sure. Jaleel ain't worth the number 1. I mean, it just depends. Like, how bad of a position are you in at the running back position? If you're in a bad spot, then you need to pick him up. If you're not, then I would say Michael Wilson is my top priority. Unless, I mean, if Jameson Williams available out there, he's a guy you need to take a sharp look at as well. He's rostered in like 53% of leagues, though. Would you trade JT away for DK, stacked at running back but struggling at wide receiver? I mean, yeah, I think that's a fair trade. I mean, DK is going to give you consistency if you're really struggling at wide receiver. It's fine. I grabbed Fields 2 weeks ago in my home league. Yeah, I mean, Fields got dropped in leagues, and like it's like, yeah, it was really, really, really bad the first couple weeks, but we still like have to remember it's early in the season. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how well Fields going to do this coming week, but you know, when he has these soft matchups, he's a player to definitely consider. I mean, he's at Washington in week 5. I don't know really what to make of this Washington defense right now, but I don't think they're like really that intimidating. But then Minnesota and Vegas at home are 2 good matchups, and at the Chargers, not an awful matchup either. So I think Fields will show that he still has fantasy value. I just don't know how consistent it's going to be. Ghost and I'm going to try McCauliffe only because my running back room is already pathetic. Have Henry and RB as my backs that are worth mentioning. Yeah, I mean, like, and you never know. Maybe he could come into a split, but I really think it is a short term, pick up for now. Are you buying low on Breece Hall? Sure. I mean, I think Breece Hall in soft matchups is going to be okay. It just hasn't really had like many opportunities so far. But I mean, this offense looked like they had some life last night, but I mean, he's literally played Buffalo, Dallas, New England, and Kansas City. Like, and he's at Denver, which is fine in week 5, but then they face Philly in week 6, which is another bad matchup. But it's been a really, really tough schedule against a run for Breece Hall. But the bigger question is like, how consistent is this offense going to be? Look good at home against the Chiefs. Like in all, bringing everything in context, they look good. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think if you're 4-0, sure. I mean, Zach Wilson had 19 fantasy points, so maybe this offense can be somewhat manageable. My starting fields on Thursday Night Football are Stroud. I mean, the better matchup is Fields against Washington, but I don't really like short weeks. I don't like Thursday Night Football matchups if we can avoid them, but I don't know. I don't think I'm benching Stroud right now. I mean, if he has a little bit of regression in this game against Atlanta, don't be surprised, but I think I'd just rather start Stroud. You're good, Clark Kent. Did you talk about Collins versus Dell? Not yet, but I think it's pretty simple here. Like I was really high on Tank Dell last week, but if you guys were in the streams last week and you were asking about Nico Collins, I told you guys, please, like you can still start Nico Collins. Don't be afraid to do so. I mean, the target share was a little concerning with how much we saw it change for, Collins versus Dell, but it was such a good matchup. And I think that the simple answer here is that this is a throw first offense. Sorry, Damian Pierce owners, but at the end of the day, Collins and Dell primary targets in this throw first offense for CJ Stroud, and they're not going to be incredibly consistent, which we see in a lot of different offenses, right? I mean, just think about Metcalf and Lockett, for example. Like some weeks you have, Metcalf gets you 10 points and then Lockett scores 2 touchdowns, has 160 receiving yards. Like there's just only so many offenses that can really sustain. I mean, even the Eagles with Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, like we see them go back and forth. So, at the end of the day, like I do think Tank Dell is going to be a big part of this offense, and obviously Nico Collins is as well. But it's not going to be consistent, and so they become flex plays. But I like both of them for sure. Pitts or Waller, thinking of getting out of my Waller shares. I mean, I don't want either of these guys. Pitts is a target, I guess. I don't want either of them. I just don't. I'd rather just pick up like Ferguson and start him. I hate tight ends this year, just like last year. Tommy, last few years, I started the season like 8-2, 7-3, not used to. Yeah, I mean, hey, well, congrats, man. It's a long season. Keep chucking along. I think we should start considering streaming any defenses that face the Giants. Maybe not any defense, but probably most at this point. I know Steven's talked about them as a team to stream against a lot this year so far. Yeah, Ritter it's not there, right? Was offered Etienne and Myers for Puka and Swift? No way, not even close. Nav. Yeah, Lions defense, a great start next week for sure. Baltimore. Is Baltimore they're playing the Steelers. Oh, because they're playing Mitch. Okay. I like the Lions a lot next week. At home, they get Bryce Young. I might go Lions. But if you have to stick with Baltimore, it's not bad. Where do you rank AR? Got to be top 5, right? Oh, he certainly could be. Yeah, 29 points against the Rams. We'll see how he does against Tennessee's front 7 in week 5. I think that'll be pretty telling. Then they're at Jacksonville. Then they get Cleveland. Then they get the Saints. And they're at Carolina, at New England. It's a really, really tough stretch for Anthony Richardson. This is going to be really telling of what we're going to get out of Richardson on the season. And hopefully he can stay healthy through that stretch. I mean, that's really been the only concern so far. But top 5 is kind of hard to put a finger on right now. It's been such a weird start to the season. I mean, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, like those guys are still up there for me. And quite frankly, Lamar Jackson has not been bad whatsoever. Like he's got to be in there as well. So, I mean, 5, he's probably close, but I probably still want some of the upside that Tua brings to the table. Then let's not sneeze at CJ Stroud as well, who I think has still played more consistent than Anthony Richardson. So maybe close. And then there's still time for redemption for Joe Burrow. And I forgot about Herbert. Herbert, yeah, Herbert's probably number 1 right now. So I probably wouldn't put AR top 5 quite yet, but close. On the outside looking in, but that stretch coming up is really, really, really tough. Make COD great again is a great name too. We need Verdansk back for sure. All right, let's see. Albert, what's good, my guy? Let me see. Kamara, yeah, I think Kamara like had a record yesterday. Hold on. He had 13 receptions. I mean, I think that was like literally a record for running backs, like, or like tied a record or something. What's up, Godfather? Good to see you. Ghost Hunter in a super flex league. I love Fields, Stroud, and Goff. Should be trying to trade one of them outside of Fields. I mean, the two guys I like the best right now are Love and Stroud. But yeah, in a super flex, you want 3 quarterbacks at least in case of bye weeks and injuries. So I would only be trying to trade one player. And I mean, I guess what you're really asking is like outside of Fields, should he be moving on from anyone? I don't quite think so. No. Do you think Nico Collins, or do you see Nico Collins as a locked-in starter? A good flex, yeah. I mean, there's some volatility there, but yeah, absolutely in the flex for sure. Flowers or Kirk for week 5. Yeah, I need a little bit of juice back from Zay Flowers. And it's not that he played like awful this past week or anything. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 56 receiving yards. But he could get that juice back against a really bad Steelers secondary. So I do like him. The Jags a little bit of a tougher matchup against the Bills. They just lost Tre'Davious White. Secondary always seems to be a little bit banged up year to year, but I don't mind either of these guys. I think the floor is with Kirk, the upside is with Flowers, just due to the matchup. Cats, what's up, man? Ferg Daddy is him. Been saying it. Yeah. I mean, these rookie tight ends really showing up this year. We don't really see that on a regular basis, but man, they've been pretty. I mean, Ferguson's not a rookie, but he kind of feels like one because he's behind Schultz. But these young tight ends, I should say, really showing up this year. Up says Nico, I'd sell high on with the routes run. He's definitely riding high on efficiency. That's fair. I mean, it was a really, really good matchup. I mean, this, like I just said, the Steelers secondary, not good. What are your opinions on this trade? Because I'm curious. People had thoughts in my family league. CMC and love for Kamara and Adams. Yeah, I mean, not enough for CMC whatsoever. And not enough for CMC. Not the way he's getting fed right now. Was that before or after the 4 touchdowns? 0-4 need help. Do I trade Amon-Ra, Rashad for Kyron, Monty, and Cooper? Half PPR team is Tua, ETN, Walker, Chase, Amon-Ra, Kittle. Flex is B-Rob. Flex 2 is Rashad. So this would basically take you to starting. Yeah, I mean, I think this trade is pretty close. I mean, you'd have Chase and Cooper, which would be starting Etienne and Walker, and then flexing Kyron or Monty. I mean, losing Amon-Ra is a huge blow, but if you feel like it's pretty close, but it's half PPR, so I'd say yes, because Amon-Ra has so much more value in full PPR. I'd say yes. Still close, but I think those additional running backs and it being half PPR makes a difference. How do you feel about it? Yeah, I don't mind buying low on Breece Hall. I like that you guys are asking that. And Garrett Wilson didn't look too shabby either. Would you trade away Ridley and Moss for Swift and Thielen? Maybe. Need running back help badly. My backs are Breece, Najee, Pacheco, Ford, and Moss. Then Puka, Ridley, Cup, Judy, Hollywood at wide receiver. So that's very close. I mean, like I think I would do it, I guess. Like you lose Ridley, that leaves you with Puka and maybe Hollywood as your starters until Cup is back. Then you're in an interesting scenario having Puka and Cup. But I think the main reason is because JT's probably going to come back and maybe play for the Colts, maybe not. Who knows? If he does, then that really hurts Zach Moss's value. If he doesn't, then Ridley and Moss is the better side. Swift really helps, though, but ooh, it's super close. What do you think about that one, chat? Super, super close. I just don't know really like what Thielen's going to be bringing to the table with Bryce Young moving forward as like the starting quarterback. You know, garbage time points are what you're really hoping for, but I mean, maybe I do the trade. I still think Ridley has a lot left in the tank this season. It's just close because I don't really know with Thielen going to your wide receiver core how much that really helps throughout the season. I mean, I get that you're trading for a running back, but I don't know. It feels just a little bit off. Is JSN droppable and redraft for sure? Yeah, for sure. For sure. John decided to beat me when I finally had a really good week. The one dynasty league that I'm really struggling in, that my team is like, I drafted super young, like I knew it was going to struggle, but I finally had a good week. I put up like 165 points, then Emil like put up 200 points against me with some high scoring across all the dynasty formats. Yeah, high scoring matchups. So I drop Pitts for Ferguson. Yeah, I would at this point. Yeah, for sure. Ferg gets the volume, Pitts doesn't. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Johnny Smith had like 9 targets. With K9 on a bye week next week, good thing I'm getting Jones. Who should I flex? Dell, Dotson, or Warren? I'd probably keep Dell in the flex. What's a trade I should go for if you want to trade Mostart? I just want to improve my team. I'm Mahomes, Cooks, Mostart, Smith, Chase, Puka, Laporta, and McPherson. It's kind of tough to say. Like, and I mean, you don't have a ton of running back depth here. Obviously, no bench included here, but you just need to find a team that's struggling at running back and convince them that Devon Shane is not completely taking over that backfield. Which, if you look at last week's stat lines, he's not. But yeah, you need to find a team that's struggling at running back and then try and swap. I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, I don't really know. Because if you lose Ham, like who's your RB2? Team looks really good outside of like, I mean, running backs are fine, but like you can't really like trade for a wide receiver. That doesn't really help you. So like what running back are you going to be able to swap a Mostart for straight up? Probably not much of anyone. So I'd probably just keep Mostart. You know what I mean? Team looks pretty good. I mean, if you have a good record, I wouldn't be you know, freaking out about it, but some of these guys have been a little bit volatile, so it kind of depends on the record. But yeah, like I said, I just don't know who you can trade like Mostart for straight up. You know what I mean? Would you trade for Jacobs or Monty? I trade for Monty. And I'm not just saying that because he's coming off a big game and Jacobs is not, but well, Jacobs had a much better game than what we've seen, which I told you guys he would. I mean, I'm sorry, Jacobs did have 27 points, but I begged you guys to start him. He was the must-start running back of the week. I feel good about that. But anyways, Monty, like I just think the offense is going to be more efficient, especially with Williams coming back. Jacobs last year, first 3 weeks of the season weren't good, and then he got rolling. So I just think the more efficient offense is the Lions. That's really what it comes down for to me. Jaw drop Firemuth for Ferguson. Yeah, why not? If it's full PPR, why not? Mark, at some point when you get a chance, can you check out my trade offer put in redraft section on Discord? The CMC and Josh Allen deal. I'm on it. Discord. I hit Sleeper by accident. The Discord and Sleeper icons look so similar. All right. Okay, and this was in redraft. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Josh Allen, Gibbs, Collins, and McLaurin for Fields, C-Mac, Watson, Downs, and Mitchell. Ooh, losing Allen is huge. Other than that, I really like the trade. It depends on your faith in Fields. Like, do you think Fields is going to be sustainable? You think he's only going to play well against soft defenses? It really depends on Fields versus Allen, but getting C-Max huge. You get Watson over Collins. You do loose wide receiver value still with McLaurin, and getting Downs and Mitchell for him. Like I guess that's okay, but I'd way rather have McLaurin. So it's, the truth of the matter is you're swapping Gibbs for C-Mac. I don't really care about the rest of the trade. It matters, but the value of C-Mac helps outweigh it. But Allen versus Fields is like the big thing. You just have to ask yourself the question, well, what are you really going to do with that situation? If you're okay with it, I think the trade's fine. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we got bye week sneaking up on us, so be prepared, okay? They're going to come quick. So be prepared. I wonder, I haven't even looked. NFL by week. Browns, Chargers, Hawks, Bucks. Week 6, Packers, Steelers. Week 7, Panthers, Bengals, Cowboys, Texans, Jets, Titans. You got to get ready for that. That's always fun. It's always like, especially that week 7 is pretty loaded. Like when we have to start factoring in buys, it's like everyone loses their mind. I mean, it's good for content because it's like everyone's like, wait, what do I do now? But yeah, they do suck. Roll with Cousins next week versus Kansas City, or pick up either Stroud or Howell. I mean, I think Cousins is perfectly fine. I mean, this Kansas City defense has been pretty good. They didn't look great, on the road this past week, but I think Cousins is one of those guys you can just roll out there. Like sometimes with quarterback, it's like you just start your guy, and it is what it is. Sometimes you start swapping guys all over the place. Like it can just lead to disappointment, but I do like Stroud, and Sam Howell really bounced back last week, showed us a lot, and obviously a great matchup, but it's Thursday night. I don't like Thursday night games. I probably just start Cousins, but if you can pick up Stroud to hold on to, I think that's smart. I think Kupp's going to be a decoy when he returns. Puka's still going to have good production. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it for a couple weeks. Like, you look at like how productive Tutu Atwell has been so far. Even if it's not like crazy numbers he's putting up or anything like that, and coming off of his worst performance so far, but he still had 9 targets last week. There's definitely room for Matthew Stafford, who's thrown the football, 38 times, 55 times, 33 times, 40 times last 4 weeks, to get enough targets to both Puka and Cooper Kupp. That Puka is still going to be perfectly fine in terms of a flex option. I couldn't remember what I was like. There is some sort of thank you, some sort of record around Kamara. Fewest yards with 13 receptions. Okay, I was like, there's something. Should I sell Kamara high to a team who needs an RB for a wide receiver? I've Goff, A-Rich, Fields, Bijan, Etienne, Kamara, Cooper, Pickens, Addison. Yeah, you need some wide receiver help, so absolutely, I'm fine with that. RB's going into week 5 is Jacobs, Mondre, Herbert with Ford and White on bye. Should I make a trade or start Ramondre or Herbert? I would start. I do think Ramondre is going to get going at some point. Against the Saints, I don't know if that's the case. I don't really like Herbert. I'd probably still start Ramondre. I wouldn't make a trade based around a bye week situation like this. I just roll out the player with the best volume. Would you trade Javonte for Godwin? Yeah, in full PPR, it would for sure. Henry or Goddard? I'm gonna like ban tight end questions. I'm just kidding. It's just like anyone's guess as good as mine, unless it's Kelsey, who coming off a poor game anyways, or like maybe Hawkinson or Andrews. It's like tight ends are just such a headache, man. Let's take a look at the matchups. Henry has a poor matchup at home against the Saints. Goddard, probably the better start against the Rams, but yeah, I'm just not like crazy about either of these guys right now. And I thought Henry was really going to maybe be a consistent thing, but the Cowboys offense just looked awful this past week. So maybe I go Goddard here, but yeah, I go Goddard, but I wouldn't be surprised if Henry is a better game. Let me see. Done 3 trades in my home league already. Yeah, man, it happens. Any moves I should make? 10 team, 1 and 3. Watson, Jacobs, Ford, Chase, Brown, Waller, T, Wilson, Pitts, Watson, Godwin, White, Ramondre, JSN. I mean, you have a lot of pieces here. Like you're probably starting Watson, Jacobs, Ford, Chase, AJ Brown. You have a ton of options in terms of flexing. I mean, like the thing is, like if you sell Higgins, you're selling him low because he's hurt. I mean, if you sell Wilson, I think you're still selling him low. Like I just think if you own Garrett Wilson, you just hold him. But Pitts and Waller like can just leave your team completely. Godwin, you probably want to keep now with Mike Evans being a little bit banged up. Watson's going to get. I mean, you have some wide receiver depth. Chase, Brown, Higgins, Wilson, Watson, Godwin. JSN's probably droppable, but you even have running back depth with Ford, White, and Ramondre outside of Jacobs. So if you're 1 and 3 and you feel like you can upgrade, I think you have enough pieces to package 2 players and upgrade. Tommy, I checked all my players bye weeks, got coverage. Let's go. Smart man. Chase, what do I do with a QB room of 2-1 AR? This league doesn't really trade, so I might have to drop one. I'd keep Tua because that offense just overall looks better. Tua's got the Giants, the Panthers, Eagles, Pats, Chiefs. Not a great stretch. Anthony Richardson, also a tough stretch. Tennessee, Jacksonville, Cleveland, New Orleans, Panthers, Patriots. So, I mean, let's see here. Tua hits the bye week in week 10. AR hits the bye week in week 11, but you're probably talking about other players who aren't quarterbacks. So I guess I keep Tua, try and keep both. It's close. I mean, honestly, you can go with whoever you like better. Like I said earlier about quarterbacks, like start your guy and don't think about it. Would you trade Henry for Hill? Yes, for sure. Yeah. Waller, tough to trust now. Yeah, for sure. Any idea rest season with Musgrave, Komet, Ertz, or Thomas? I mean, if Musgrave cleared concussion protocol, I like him. Then I like Ertz, and I like Komet, then Thomas. Komet coming off a huge game. Let's just tamper expectations because against soft defenses, that might be one thing. They're not going to face soft defenses every single week. Chase, start 2 running backs for half PPR next week. Mixon, Pierce, A-Shane, or Hall. Probably Mixon and A-Shane. Mixon, this Bengals team a little concerning, but they get the Cardinals. I'm not sneezing at the Cardinals at all, but it is a decent matchup. Business circuit, I'm 0-4 in fantasy. It happens, my guy. Don't lose faith. It's a long season. A lot of time to play the waiver wire, make some trades. You can still make the playoffs if you're 0-4. So when we get to like 0-6, 0-7, 1-7, 1-8, 2-8, like that's when we start to really panic. But we have time, guys. 8-man, Mahomes, Eckler, Pollard, Pittman, Smith, Higbee, Wilson, 2-2, Chiefs, Folk, benches, Kirk, Davis, Ertz, Kirk. What moves should I make? Who to trade for? I mean, it's really tough to say in an 8-team format. Like you're going to have to look at where do you think you have the best depth and what teams out there are struggling at depth and how can I upgrade? I mean, Eckler hasn't been playing, so that's been hurting you. Pollard's been in a tough stretch. Pittman and Smith, Wilson, like haven't necessarily been consistent. You have 2-2 in the flex, which makes sense. And I'm assuming it's Kirk Cousins and Christian Kirk or one or the other on your bench. But yeah, I mean, trying to just find a player who brings some consistency to the table will help a lot here. But even then, like, I do think this team could get better as the season goes on. You just have some players in some tough spots. But yeah, in an 8-team format, like, it's really tough to say. You know, every team out there is stacked. There's probably guys on the waiver wire every week who are playing well. Like, it's really hard to say who exactly you should trade for, but you have to kind of look at your depth here, which I think is a little bit stronger at wide receiver than anything. Doesn't look like you have a ton of running back depth. I mean, yeah, like, who are you starting behind Eckler? That's a big question here. But looks like you can afford to trade more wide receivers than anything, though. Is Waddle going to be good? At some point, he will be. He just hasn't been healthy. This offense is too good for Waddle to not be good. He'll be fine. Give it some time. I would only start Tua over AR because I have Hill on my team. Yeah, I mean, I think if you have Hill, you keep Tua. Trade Bijan for Kelsey. Other running backs are Cooks, Monty, and Shane. You can if you feel good about it, Tony, but I still love my boy Bijan, so Cooks, Monty, Shane is probably fine. It's a fair trade if you feel good about it. There's not many players I'd really say, like C-Mac, JJ, Bijan, Kelsey, Hill. Those guys, I think, are the only like players who are interchangeable with one another in that tier. Big D David, let's go 4-0. Trade Devonta Smith for Andrews and Dell. I mean, if you're like, you absolutely want the consistency at tight end, maybe, but I probably prefer Devonta Smith still. Got a question. Deshaun is on bye. He's my super flex. Do I pick up Stafford, Dobbs, Howell, or Wilson? I mean, Howell has a really good opportunity against the Bears this week if you like him. Russ is, always a little dangerous, of course. They play the Jets at home. Dobbs is a really, really sneaky pickup, though. I don't really like Stafford right now. I guess the Eagles in week 5. I wouldn't go Stafford, but if you trust Sam Howell in a short week against the Bears, but that could also be a run first game. It's tough here. Tough. I might go Dobbs. I like Dobbs right now. I do. Tommy, have a good night, my guy. Thanks for hanging out, bro. Someone in my league wants Eckler and gives me Amon-Ra and like Swift. I would do it for Amon-Ra and Swift. Not Amon-Ra and Pacheco, and I do like Pacheco, but Amon-Ra and Swift. Oh, you have Jerome Ford. Okay. I mean, just keep in mind, like, if you trade a player like Eckler, you just have to remember, like, the caliber of player that you're trading away. He could still finish in the top 5. He's just been hurt. Could easily still be a top 5 running back, but Amon-Ra and Swift is enough, just being the fact that you're 0-4 and your team's kind of hurting, because Amon-Ra is also a guy who could finish top 5. Just had a different position. So you have to understand, if you trade a player like Eckler away, you have to understand what can happen. You know what I mean? Chris Scott, Pitt's a tight end. My other wide receivers are JJ, Puka, and Watson. Yeah. I mean, in full PPR, I still prefer to keep Devonta Smith. I know tight end is frustrating, but like, if there are players like Ferguson or Musgrave, out there tight end, I think you just hit the struggle bus and you keep the depth at wide receiver. But I mean, it is a fair enough trade. I just am a really big Devonta Smith fan, so maybe I'm too biased, but the trade is fine. I guess it's fair enough, but I'd rather keep Devonta Smith, but maybe that's just me being biased. But the trade is okay for sure. In terms of, overall compensation is fine. Trade away Puka for Evan Engram because I've Goddard. Whoa, what? No. What? For Evan Engram because I've Goddard. No, you should have kept Evan Engram and tried to trade Goddard for scraps, unfortunately. Should I play DJ Moore at flex instead of picking up Dobbs? You could, but I don't really like him on a. I hate Thursday night matchups, so I'd just pick up Dobbs. Yeah, I'd pick up the quarterback. Looking to pick up Ferguson off waivers. Feel you. Love Smith. I traded for him earlier in the season. Yeah, I mean, like it's not a bad trade, like I said, but I just even though you have pretty good depth at wide receiver, I would still rather keep Devonta Smith. I would. It is close. You know, I do think that maybe with like if it was a week ago and Dell was coming off the big game, like maybe my recency bias would be a little bit different. I'd be like, yeah, that's a pretty good trade. But and I do like Tank Dell a lot, and I think Andrews, it's a fair trade. I'd still rather keep Devonta Smith. Call me crazy. I mean, I know you're not, but I just would rather keep him. Eduardo, what's up? Cooper on bye. Got to start a wide receiver 3. Have Downs, Mims, and Boyd. Maybe Michael Wilson. If JT comes back, should I start Bijan and Achane? I mean, you can start JT, but I would not his first week back. If you have Bijan and Devon Achane, I'd start them. Wide receiver 3 is tough. Like we know Higgins could miss time, so Boyd against the Cardinals maybe could be a good play. Mims is like, there's upside there. There's risk. Downs is like probably the opposite, full PPR. Like, there's not a big ceiling, but there's a decent floor. I mean, based on matchup, Downs has the best matchup. He gets the Titans, who have an awful secondary. I don't really love Mims this week against the Jets. I don't really hate him because I don't really know if it matters in terms of matchup. And then Boyd is like, okay. Boyd is another. I think Boyd might be the safest play. I think I just go Boyd. But I mean, if Michael Wilson plays, I think he's a good play too. King Henry Gaming, what's up? What's up? Should I play Cup and JT this week? I'm getting them both off IR. I don't know what to do. I mean, kind of my rule of thumb with players returning from injury is kind of to always just realize that they're going to be like on a snap count and eased in. Like if they're, the right player can do a lot on a snap count at the end of the day. Like we saw that with Christian Watson last week. He still scored a touchdown. We saw that with Romeo Dobbs early in the year. He still scored 2 touchdowns in week 1, but you just have to bear that in mind. Like the ceiling's a little bit lowered because realistically they're going to be somewhat eased in, especially like in JT's situation. You have a player who's been playing well in Zach Moss, and then in Cup situation, you have Puka and Tutu who have both been playing well at the wide receiver position. So I think they'll be eased in. But if you feel like they're the best options on your roster, they're still fine to start because they are talented enough players that being on a pitch count, getting eased back in, they can still be productive enough. No problem, Eduardo. Should I try to trade maybe Puka or Watson and Pitts for Andrews and Dell? Maybe. I mean, I like the problem is I'm a big fan of like everyone on your wide receiver core. I want to say Watson for some reason, but I do feel like Watson, once he gets going, is going to be just a big play guy on a weekly basis. Some people would say Puka because he might lose volume to Cup, but I think Puka's going to be okay as a flex option. And he's on pace for, he literally has more receptions and receiving yards through the first 4 weeks of the season than Cooper Kupp did on his record-breaking year, which was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I don't remember. Everything's a blur. 2 years ago, which is, like, ridiculous. I mean, right now we have Puka, Stroud, and Richardson. If you look at the pace that those 3 guys are on, who are best-performing rookies in the NFL right now, they're all on pace to just have monster rookie seasons, like historically ridiculous record-setting seasons. But I mean, I think with the game that Puka just had, you don't trade him, and if you do, you got to get more than this. So it's Watson or Smith if you're going to do the trade. But yeah, I like all these guys. Mixon or Monty. rest of the season, next week, whatever. Monty. Chris, rough week for me. Good players just didn't show any of them to. Adams got me wondering. Yeah, I mean, it's not Adams' fault. It's Aiden O'Connell. You know, the offense was capped. It's not Adams' fault. You can still throw him into the flex at worst, but Adams is still a player just due to his talent that is a wide receiver too. He still had 15 points. He's still start worthy. Ray Gamer, what's up? Lost by 5 points as last week. I lost by DK turn to go second half, but Olave and Eagles defense made me lose. And Moody 5 points. Yeah, they're just, you know, sometimes you have to look at an offense like the Niners and be like, they're going to score too much this week. They're not even going to kick any field goals. But tough week. It was another. This is always a tough season, but this is another tough season so far. Don, what's up, man? Most starter Watson at flex this week. I go with the upside. I go Watson here, but most start's still a good floor play at home against the Giants. You know, when you look at Devontae Shane versus Mostart last week, it was almost neck and neck in terms of touches, and they had the same amount of targets. So I do like him. I do think he's a fine floor play. So if you want to go with that, that's fine. But I think Watson, the upside is there. Gets the Raiders. Monday Night Football. I might go Watson. Full PPR. What do you think, Don? Good to see you, bro. Would you trade Monty for Waddle straight up? My only weakness on my entire team would be RB2 unless Pierce picks it up. I mean, I think Waddle's a buy low right now. Monty's a sell high. Yeah, if Monty makes your team balance, I just keep Monty. What do you think? Should I start Russ, Fields, or Dak? Fields or Dak, whoever you feel better about. Dak has the most competitive game script, so maybe Dak, but he's probably going to have a turnover or two just knowing him in this matchup. But yeah, I like Dak or Fields the best here. No offense, Russ. Hopefully Barkley's back next week. We'll find out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're about at an hour. Like I said, guys, I'm still a little bit under the weather, so gonna have to keep it to an hour sharp here. So we'll go ahead and wrap up for the night. But as always, I like hopping on right after the Monday Night Football game ends because I know it's just a chaotic time as we try to get an early start into the following week of the season. And then, you know, waiver wires picking up, trying to wrap our minds around what in the world just happened in week 4. And so I always enjoy just hopping on right after the game. And so good stream here tonight. Thank you guys. If you guys are new to the channel, hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. Hopefully you guys subscribed. Link to our Discord and Instagram are down below. Make sure you guys are checking out both of those, following us on Instagram, and join the free Discord. And hit the like, do the YouTube stuff, all that good stuff. But more importantly, thank you guys for hanging out tonight. And thank you guys for all of the fantasy questions. Really do appreciate it, and really do appreciate you guys allowing me to give you the best possible advice I can. But can you believe it, guys? We're a month down. It flies by. Ray, have a good night. Henry, good to see you, bro. No problem. Should I trade Henry for Cup? If you're deep enough at running back, you can definitely consider it. Not knocking Henry, but you can consider it. It's a fair swap. But the big question is we just got to make sure Cup's going to be back playing. As long as he is, then I'm okay with it. Appreciate you, Don. Bye weeks are coming, baby. Let's go. Appreciate you, Chris. Have a good night, Ray. All right, guys. I will talk to you guys soon. So love you guys, man. Loves community. Love the catch, fam. And let's go. Week 5's here, ladies and gentlemen. How much free agency bidding to drop on Ferguson? I have 164 left. If you really want to snag them up, 30, 40, 45. And don't forget, never put in a number like 40. Put in 41. You know, never put in 30, put in 31. Because then, like, you outbid whoever also put in 30. Don't put in 15, put in 16. But yeah, you can drop a pretty penny. You got a good amount of money left. Should I trade Pittman and Richardson for Godwin and Waddle? No, I keep the Pittman A-Rich side. Appreciate you, Ray Gamer. Appreciate you, Chris. All right, guys. That'll do it. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. And have a great night. Have a great start to the week, everybody. And love you guys, man. With that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch. And Peace.